Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Alright, magandang gabi mga kababayan, and welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. We come to you every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, and any other time on your podcast platforms, on demand, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Immigration Law on Your Side. We've been doing this for about 5 years now with Reeves Immigration Law Group. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight right here at PHLV Radio. Mga kababayan, exciting ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, and like we always say with Attorney Diza, immigration is always very dynamic and very exciting as your K-dramas or whatever you're into right now right here at PHLV Radio. Because in recent days, the Biden administration has been very busy on immigration matters. On June 4th, just last week, the White House announced executive orders that bar migrants from receiving asylum at the southern border. And just a couple of days ago, we learned that the president is considering a policy to provide protection and work permission to spouses of U.S. citizens and green card holders who are already here in the U.S. and cannot apply for other relief. So here we are with us tonight. It's not Attorney Diza, who's somewhere right now, but we do have Attorney Eric Welsh, a partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group, to help us understand what is going on in the immigration world tonight, right here at PHLV Radio. Attorney Eric Welsh, welcome to Immigration Law on Your Side.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Alrighty then, let's get the show on the road. We mentioned at the top of the program things about asylum and new directions from the Biden administration. But to get things in order and just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, let's put it out there. Let's give them a brief definition of what asylum is all about. What is asylum, Attorney Eric Welsh?
Sure. Asylum is a form of humanitarian relief. It's for individuals who are seeking relief from persecution, torture, or death in their home country. And it's because of reasons like race, religion, nationality, membership in a social group, or political opinion.
All right, that's right. And you mentioned the word persecution, which is such a loaded word. We always mention that every time we mention the word asylum, and side by side we mention persecution. So as far as immigration is concerned, how is persecution defined, Attorney Welsh?
So persecution means that you're being harmed by the government or by somebody the government can't control. And it's because of one of those protected characteristics. Those protected characteristics, again, are race, religion, nationality, membership in a social group, or political opinion. So if you've got one of those characteristics that you cannot change, and the government is causing you harm or is not stopping others who want to cause you harm, you may be persecuted and you might have a claim for asylum.
All right. And that is why some of most of the migrants at the border are claiming that and wanted to apply asylum. So, Attorney, what is the latest policy on applying for asylum? We mentioned on top of the program that there's some changes into applying for asylum, especially at the southern border. What's going on, Attorney?
Right. So last week, just like you mentioned, it was June 4th. The White House announced a new policy. They rolled out some executive orders that President Biden had signed. And the collective effect of these executive orders is to stop migrants who are crossing the border unlawfully, so not at a port of entry or not with lawful papers, stops them from applying for asylum. So in the broadest sense, that's the purpose of these new orders, is to essentially keep those people out of court and allow the customs officers at the border who arrest them to process them through what's called expedited removal. Expedited removal means a fast-track way to kick them out of the country without giving them a day in court.
I'm sure it's a complex process. How does that work exactly, Attorney?
So the new policies that were announced by the White House, they come in the form of three major changes. And these changes are supposed to take effect when there is a high amount of border frequency or high frequency of border encounters. So when there's a big number of migrants who are crossing the border, these rules are meant to take effect. And what they do first is they basically bar anybody who is entering the United States unlawfully or seeking to enter unlawfully from applying for asylum unless there are compelling circumstances or that they have a special exception. Next, they put these people into expedited removal, which basically means that this is a fast-track deportation process that does not involve an immigration judge and does not involve the immigration courts. And they'll give them what's called a credible fear examination, only if that person makes an expression of fear or indicates that they intend to apply for asylum. And even then, again, unless they have a special exception or unless it's a special humanitarian case, they don't have to give them that right to asylum. They'll hear out their credible fear, but they're going to hold it to a higher standard. And that's the third part of it, is that there is now a higher standard to overcome that credible fear assessment. It used to be that as long as the individual could make what was exactly deemed a credible fear, meaning they express a fear and the officer thinks that they're telling the truth, they go to the next step and they talk to an asylum officer. But now, that person, that first line officer, can prevent them from ever seeing an asylum officer and prevent them from ever going before an immigration judge unless they think a reasonable probability of persecution or torture. That's a higher standard than we're used to. We don't see that historically. And the purpose of that is to give more power to those agents at the border to decide if somebody has a legitimate claim or not, and allows them to essentially wholesale refuse claims before they ever get to make an application for asylum.
Just to backtrack a little bit, Attorney, so this, like what you said, applies only to those who are entering unlawfully at the borders, right?
That's right. So yeah, this is for unlawful border entry. So this is people who are trying to cross the border, not at a checkpoint, or people who don't have authorization. So people who are coming at a checkpoint but maybe don't have a visa or other permission to come into the United States.
That's right. Are there any exceptions to this? Say, for example, children or victims of trafficking or seniors. Are there any exceptions to this?
Yes. So there's a broad humanitarian exception. So I should say there are humanitarian exceptions, and although humanitarian is a broad term, the executive orders specify who may be included in those exceptions. We know that unaccompanied minors are not included. So if you're a minor and you're crossing the border without any assistance, you'll have the normal process, normal access to asylum that existed before these executive orders went into effect. And there are other cases, again, if you meet that, the high probability of success and you express a fear of return, even if you would otherwise be barred, you can still be considered for asylum.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a while ago, Attorney Welsh, that this is in place because there is a huge number of people coming in and a large number of interactions. How about if the situation at the border kind of softens a little bit and there's not a lot of people? Do you think this orders will be relaxed or somehow backtracked?
That's the design. So the way that these are written is that they're only supposed to be effective in times of high levels of encounters. Now, what's unfortunate is that the executive orders themselves don't define what that means. So we don't know exactly what numbers of migrants have to be crossing to be considered a high level, or when it is relaxed enough that the border officers have the ability to do their jobs efficiently. So that gray area gives still the power to the border officers and ultimately to the White House to decide when to keep this in effect. But at least as it's written, the way that it's designed is that if things do relax and if the number of migrant crossings go down, then we should revert to the traditional asylum rules.
Okay, so so we will be watching, and we'll try to see what happens. But does this affect those who are already inside the United States, those who made it inside already, applying for asylum after the fact that they've already been inside? Does this affect them?
It doesn't affect people who are outside of the arm of expedited removal, which means that they have already come into the United States. They've made it past the border, and they've been here for a significant period of time. So, people who have been here for years, who have overstayed a visa, who potentially already applied for asylum, no effect. So this did not affect domestic processing. So people who are applying inside the United States, it's only meant to prevent those people who are caught at the border from seeking asylum.
That's right. That's right. Lots of things going on. I'm sure you guys at Reeves Immigration Law Group, they are on your toes monitoring the situation. And we're so lucky here at PHLV and our listeners that we get the information, we get the breaking news right away from your social media. So you guys, if you haven't been listening or following Reeves Immigration, go on ahead and subscribe to their channels. They do have Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Just get on there and you'll get the information from our friends at Reeves Immigration Law Group. And for those who just joined us today, we're joined by Eric Welsh. He is a partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group. And usually, napapakinggan nyo, napapanood nyo mga kababayan si Attorney Diza. He's not with us today, but Attorney Eric Welsh is with us, giving us a load of information today on immigration law on your side. Also, on top of the program, we mentioned, Attorney Eric, that there is a new policy that's cooking up. We recently heard that the Biden administration is considering another change that may help immigrants. Would you help us understand what this change is all about, Attorney?
Yeah, so this is something we just heard about, and this is something that's coming out of, I would say at this time, unofficial channels, but trustworthy unofficial channels, that the White House is seriously considering an executive order that will give spouses of U.S. citizens or permanent residents who maybe are not otherwise eligible to apply for a green card or some other status, the right to stay in the country and avoid deportation, to avoid removal. So grant them some kind of temporary relief, kind of like DACA, that would give them a right to stay and work in the country.
Okay. So some kind of a parole that they're given, right? Like a
Exactly. So yeah, it's in the form of a parole in place is what they call it. So parole in place is the legal term for granting some permission to stay in the country for people who've already been in the country, people who are here. And we don't know exactly the form that it's going to take. We don't know exactly who's going to qualify because, again, this is all very early stages, but it sounds very promising. But whatever the requirements might be, you have to be here by a certain date. Probably a requirement of good moral character, having no or limited criminal record, and obviously some kind of family relationship, some ties to the United States, some equities. In order to be eligible for it. But that parole in place, that grant, is the president's got that power to essentially say to a person who's already here in the country that they can remain. And that right to remain is the right to work.
That's right. That's right. And we're catching on social media right now, and we're getting some questions right here. We're going to backtrack a little bit with the asylum issue that we were talking about a while ago. And some people are asking here, why is the Biden administration stopping people from applying for asylum at the border? You kind of touched on that a little bit, but maybe we can enlighten them a little bit more.
Sure. So, the answer is this. I mean, what it comes down to is politics. There is a legitimate security interest in securing the border, and the border, not just people, but sometimes drugs, sometimes human trafficking, sometimes terrorist considerations. There are legitimate reasons to secure the border. And when there are very high numbers of migrants crossing the border, it's very hard for the customs agents who police the border to stop the right people and let the right people in. And so that's part of why Biden had to act, essentially to wholesale stop the, or try to reduce the number of people crossing the border, and to limit the rights that those people seeking access into the United States will have. And then on the other hand, President Biden is at least it seems, and we hope, taking additional steps to help people who need help, who have family ties, who want to be able to work and support their family, and who've maybe already started their life in the United States. So one hand takes away and one hand gives. And this is how, the president, I think, maintains the security and also the humanitarian interest of helping people who have families here.
Yeah, trying to strike the perfect balance for all of us, right? For the immigrants and for all of us here already inside the United States. Attorney Eric Welsh, we want to thank you for the wealth of information that you've shared with us today. We've talked about, for those late tuners, we've talked about the executive orders about the asylum at the border, the southern border, and some other immigration changes like what Attorney Welsh has mentioned. Attorney, before I let you go, do you have any other takeaways for our audience tonight?
I think the big takeaway is that we just need to always, in our practice, in the immigration practice, keep our eyes on the news, listen to anything that's coming out of the White House, the other agencies, and to do our best to interpret them. It's confusing, it's complicated, it's opaque, it's not easy. And this is why if an individual, if a person is thinking they might be seeking some relief or is worried about what's happening, the best advice I can give to anybody is talk to an expert. Call an immigration lawyer and have a consultation and see what that person can do for you.
That's right. An expert it is. Our friends from Reeves Immigration Law Group. You see the number on your screen, 415-568-3777. That's a number in San Francisco. Are you based out there in San Francisco, Eric?
I'm in our LA office.
In the LA office. All right. So closer to Las Vegas. Yeah. Right. So, we have a lot of friends, especially in the Filipino American community, who are, clients of Reeves Immigration Law Group. And, we always mention San Francisco, and they were saying like, maybe there's something closer. So there you are, Eric Welsh, closer to you guys here at the LA area. Would you want to give your contact information, Attorney Welsh, if in case they wanted to reach out to you, especially our friends from Southern Nevada going out there in Southern California?
Absolutely. So in addition to the number that you gave, they can also call our office in Pasadena. That number is 626-795-6777. That's the best way to get a hold of us. You can call and schedule a consultation. We'd be happy to talk to you anytime.
All right. That is awesome. Well, thank you again. Eric Welsh is a partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group. As I said at the top of the program, we've been doing this for a number of years already with you guys, with Attorney Diza and you for a couple of times already here at the program. So we want to thank you for the information that you give and you share to especially the Filipino American community. So again, Attorney Eric, want to thank you so much, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, this has been Immigration Law on your side right here at PHLV Radio. Catch us on your PHLV Radio app and also on the PHLV Radio socials and wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Reeves Immigration Law Group is a proud sponsor of our Immigration Law on your side. This is Kuya Yo, galing po dito sa Las Vegas, Nevada. Maraming salamat po for joining us on another Immigration Law on your side, presented by Reeves Immigration Law Group. We will see you again next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on your side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.